weebs, gamers, boys, friends. This is a new video, a new idea, a new thing. Recently I made quite the financial investment. And no, it's not in Bitcoin or NFT, because God help you if you do that. That is in something that I believe has much more tangible value. That being Gundams, specifically this big bad boy, the MCT JO2 Noble Class painted model with metal frame, Takeda Shingen. I'm going to be completely transparent and honest with this. I have never watched Gundam. Never watched it, read it, played it, whatever. I know very, very little about Gundam. I know that Gundam Wing is like up there with some of the most classic anime and whatnot, and Iron-Blooded Orphans, Breakers, and all that stuff, but I've never watched it. But recently, I've really gotten into building Gundam models, as well as taking quite a fascination in Gundam figurines and whatnot. This, however, is not one that you necessarily build. This one is much more of a display type figure, but oh my, calling this thing a toy would be a big understatement. I figured I would take myself up on the opportunity to review this figure, since this is an absolute behemoth and I need to really just dedicate a video just to showing it off. Time to change up the angles, get a better, closer look at Takeda Shingen. Now here is the figure out of its box in all of its glory. Now I'll just say here that this is not my first impression of the figure or anything. Just for the past couple days or so, I've really just been messing around with this figure, debating whether or not to actually make a video on it, but I figured after all I've been spending, displaying it and messing with it, it just has to be done. And apologize for having to move the camera and whatnot like this, because in order to get this thing in frame and just being able to mess with it and whatnot, I have to move the angles every once in a while. First of all, one of the first praises I'll give this figure is that it has a completely metal base, as well as magnets on the feet, which allow you to pretty much stick it there. One of the first things I guess I'll talk about as well is just the absolute beautiful sculpt on this figure. This thing has so much detail, and my goodness, my favorite part right here is just the back right here. Just seeing the rivets and the spine, just that mech detail that I love so much. Now, another thing is there's a lot of parts on this that are detachable. Like these shoulder parts right here can come out, and you're meant to attach those as soon as you open the figure. One of my favorite things is the fact that you can take this back part right here on the back of his head, and you detach it like so, and you have this right here, which is like this detachable little fro or whatever you want to call it, and you just stick that back of the head like so. That makes sure it's nice and secure, and boom, you got this full like Ronin warrior look to this dude. Now, not only does he have this cool badass white hair, but you can swap it out for like this Super Saiyan type hair. And that also looks pretty freaking badass, if I do say so myself. The orange doesn't necessarily blend well with most of the red. I'd say that the normal white one, since it has the red that bleeds into the white, I'd say that works a little better. But again, it pretty much is all down to personal preference. The next thing we'll go over with is articulation. First of all, this thing pretty much has full range of motion. It has a little bit less when you have the hair attached. So for the sake of that, I will replace it with its normal head plating. When you have the normal head here, you can, swivel it left, right, up, down, and you can move the neck, either have it fully extended forward like that, or back like that. I prefer it with the extended head, but it works just as well with the head backwards like that. It also has very nice detail with like this tiger mouth right here, the teeth and everything. And another really cool feature of it is if you press this little green button right here, the eyes light up. The button itself here does light up as well. It does take two LR621 batteries, pretty much these little these little doodads right here. And I'd say it looks pretty badass. Very reminiscent of like Gurren Lagann's Gundams. Moving on to the shoulders, of course you have these shoulder pieces right here, which you could detach or attach at your leisure. Gives you pretty, this dude has pretty insane motion in his arms. Full bend there. Not too crazy amount of stuff in the wrist, but you can move it up and down. And also the wrist parts are detachable. But for the sake of it, I'm not gonna mess with those too much just for the sake of straining the joints. And of course you have full range in the torso. Not so much up and down, but yeah, you have a little bit of movement there. You can also unclip the shoulder pieces in the back and get even more range of motion there. And moving down to the legs, you can move the side pieces on the side out of the way and get even more knee, full bend of motion there. The ankles and everything move up and down all around. The next parts that we'll focus on are the many accessories that come with this amazing figure. First of all, you have this nice little, almost Torigate style type stand, which is meant to hold these swords, his little Shoto swords, the tiny swords. And yes, these are the tiny swords. And this base is magnetic as well, so you can attach it anywhere which you want on the base. But speaking of these swords, this is what they look like. Very nice detail with the almost leather style wrapping on there, a little tassel there, nice green blending, and then very nice. I will say that these weapons are a bit flimsy almost, plasticky. It would take a good amount of force to actually snap these, but just I understand that for safety reasons, these aren't meant to be made out of metal. Going off of that, you have these very beautiful spear and axe type weapons, in which the arms of these are made out of metal. So I understand the blade part of the sword's not being made out of metal, but maybe the hilt or whatnot could have been better. Now, on these spears, I absolutely love this battle axe type thing. I'm having to fully extend my arms just to completely get that in frame. Now you can detach the blade parts of each of these and make it into your own customizable type axe handle, just like so. Although I personally much prefer the double-headed axe on this big chahunga. Absolutely just could chop your freaking life up with that. And then of course, one does not simply just have Shoto blades without their massive katana. Very beautiful work on the hilt there. And of course, gotta do the classic ching. Very big and very beautiful sword. And what this sword does come with is a clip that you slide in on the top there, put the blade back in, and then you can, on the back of our big boy here, you take out this piece right here, and then you line up the square on that, and boom, our man is stacked and ready to go. Then of course, going off of storage, you have this little bombastic thing right here, which it gives you instructions on how to construct it. It comes with all the different pieces and whatnot. It's a bit confusing, but at the end of it all, oh gosh, all you have to do is just attach it right here on the waistband, and then you can take both of the Shoto blades and simply slide them on in. Come on, there you go. Slide them in on the pieces here, and just like that, boom. You now have storage for your other blades. Again, not as compact. I may have to mess around with that a little more, but it's pretty much that's the general idea. Now, I must be completely honest in saying that I have accidentally dropped this dude many times, and that is just mainly because he is freaking heavy. When I first saw pictures of this thing, I thought it was gonna be like, you know, normal Gundam size. But then I read the thing that said about 11 inches tall. And I thought, okay, that's big, but I still didn't really have a sense of scale until I finally had this thing in my hands, and it's like, oh, this is sex. Just to give you all a better sense of scale, here is a normal, simple, plastic buildable Gundam model that you can make. Stands about right there, just about fits in between the Big Daddy's legs. And then here's obviously my hand for scale. I'd say this thing is just about as big as my hand. And now I love the plastic little Gundams, don't get me wrong, I love making them. But nothing beats just the incredible mix of metal and plastic on this big boy. So now this will about wrap up my video review on this beautiful Takeda Shingen. And I've tried my best to kind of pose him in the pose that I saw a lot of Instagram accounts having this figure posing, you know, in the drawing the katana. And it has even a swappable hand where, you know, it does like the thumb thing. You know, this thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick little video, just me showing off this absolutely beautiful figurine of Takeda Shingen. More videos to come soon. I don't exactly want to do more figure reviews like this, just because it's kind of a pain in the ass to set up. I need to get like a Lazy Susan or something to have this thing spin around. In the future, maybe I might do like time-lapse style videos of me building the plastic toy Gundams, because I really like building those. They're like, you know, more advanced styles of Lego. Thank you all for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.